Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. While I was trying to think of like ideas for this video, I was like, what did I even read? Like, did I even read enough to make a whole video about it? I not only read more this past month than I did in 2024, but also in 2023 combined. I never thought that's like something I would be able to say. So I really want to start a new thing where I kind of reflect on everything I read in the last month and just share what I'm currently reading as well. So really ultimate bookish video. I actually don't have all the books behind me. This is just what I could get my hands on. Without further ado, let's get started. I'm gonna start with my lowest rated book last month, which this book was really popular. I don't know if this was in 2023 or 2024. I'm just saying like it definitely made its rounds on Booktok especially. So I'm really sad to say that this is my lowest rated book of the month, and that book is Days at the Morisaki Bookshop. I only gave this book 2.5 stars. Please, before you come at me with your pitchforks and your stakes, I promise I have a reason. I really enjoyed the beginning of the book. Like, I really did. I thought the premise was really interesting. It really did catch my attention at first. But as the book kind of just kept going, it just kind of got more and more boring. So I listened to the audiobook version of this book, and around like 3/4 of the way, I was zoning out. I really was. I'm sorry to say. So if you don't know what this book is about, we followed the main character. In the beginning of the story, she basically just finds out that her boyfriend has been cheating on her. She finds out that she's like the side chick and the boyfriend is like awful. She kind of falls into like this deep depression and quits her job and doesn't really know what to do. And then her mom suggests that she goes live with her uncle that she had a really good relationship with when she was a child, but they kind of, you know, fizzed out a little bit, and he's kind of seen as like the weirdo of the family. So she starts living in the upstairs like quarters and then helps out in the shop, so she's able to live there for free. Just kind of coming to terms with what happened to her, coming to terms with her life, trying to be happy again, and her relationship with her uncle. And then it kind of also goes into like the uncle's relationships. I just felt like the whole book I was waiting for something that never happened. And you can tell it was trying to do something, but it didn't quite get there for me. This book also had really like abrupt time jumps. There's a way to do time jumps, and I really didn't appreciate the way they were done. And sure, yeah, you can say like, you can make the argument of like, that's just life. Life feels abrupt sometimes, but like, it just kind of felt like the author didn't really know what to do with the story, so they just time jumped a little bit. I'm giving this book 2.5 stars. I don't think it's a bad book. So I don't recommend it, but I don't think it'd be a total waste of time to read, if that makes sense.
Sure, Jan.
I think this book has a lot of personality. There's times where I actually laughed a little bit. If you're going through a similar thing, might be comforting, you know? Alright, moving on. Next 2 books I actually gave the same rating, but we're gonna start off with this first book, which is The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. Now, Lucy Foley, you might or might not know her. She had a pretty popular book called The Paris Apartment, which I have not read, but that's like the book she's pretty much known for, I would say. I gave this book 3.5 stars. So it's a fast-paced, twisty mystery set in the English woods during the summer solstice. The story centers around the grand opening of the Manor, a luxury resort built on the site of owner Francesca's former family estate. So it's a murder mystery. I also listened to this on an audiobook. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if I would have kept reading this if I were just to read it normally. The reason for that is, not only does it switch like within the character's POV, it also switches like within timelines. So this book is set within like a weekend, I think. So you have the day before the murder, the day of the murder, and then the day after the murder. And I usually cannot with that. Like, I hate switching like the character's POV. I cannot do that. I just get so into the character's POV, you know, and then it switches, and then I'm like, just, it takes me out of it a little bit. You know, this is like double homicide. Because I listened to it, it was so much more tolerable, and I didn't mind it actually. I think this is a good mystery novel. The ending is very satisfying. What I think makes a good mystery is if you have no idea what the hell is going on. If at any point you don't know where the story's going, that's a good mystery for me. And that's how I felt reading this book. The way that like it gets revealed, like how all the characters are intertwined, is crazy. When she revealed something, my jaw on the floor, like I had to pick it back up. I was like, girl, you're at work, relax, like put your mouth back to normal. I think this book is also rated like 3.7 stars in general, so I really agree with that rating. I knock like some of the points down just because there was just like a few things that were a little weird about it. I actually didn't really know if I was gonna keep listening to the book in the beginning. It was just a little confusing. Like it took me like a while to get into it. The reveal was really good. I really liked it. One of the main characters at the very end, I don't remember what his name is. At the very end, he kind of has like this arc that happens. We get to really learn about him and his actions like at the very end, and the way he's thinking and what he just went through. That really makes me want a sequel. Like I wish there was a sequel like just focusing on that character and his arc. Lucy Foley, if you're somehow listening to this, book idea, make a whole sequel to I think his name is Eddie. Yeah, that's that book. Next up, another book that I rated 3.5 stars. Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. I rated this book the same as I did the last book, but for a little bit of a different reason. So I also listened to this book as an audiobook. I listened to this book on Hoopla. A person who reads it, Barton Welch, really recommend that audiobook. Would have given this book a little bit less if not for how fantastic the audiobook was. I don't even know how to explain it. Like the amount of fourth wall that this book breaks. This story starts off with the main character's brother basically knocking on his door being like, hey, there's like a dead guy in the back of my car, help me go bury him. Ernest, the main character, is very much like, no, like this guy needs to go to the hospital, he's still alive, like let's go. The brother is being very weird and sneaky and being like, no, like no, like we can't go, like I'm gonna go to jail, like we need to just bury him. Ernest, his brother, actually rats him out to the police. The brother gets jail time for 3 years. The story is set 3 years later after the fact. They set up like a family reunion type thing at this, I think it's a ski lodge or ski resort or something up in the mountains, where the whole family gets together. While they're there, there's actually a murder that happens. Everything to do with like the person he killed and just how it got to be the way it did. Everyone's family dynamics. It also just goes into detail like how did everyone kill someone, you know, like the title says. Simultaneously, they are trying to solve the murder of this random guy that no one seems to know or know about. Dead on the mountain, and they're trying to figure out what happened to him. The main character, Ernest, is an author, and he's basically writing this book as you're reading it, and he's like narrating what happens but also talks to you and like acknowledges that you're listening to an audiobook. I don't know, it's crazy. Great concept, really loved it, made it really funny. But as for the actual story, I did have to knock it down a few points because, guys, there are 10 characters in this book. 10. You have my brother, my stepsister, my wife, my father, my mother, my sister-in-law, my uncle, my stepfather, my aunt, and me. And maybe I'm the bad guy, but that was way too much. I had a lot of trouble keeping up. And you know, maybe that's a me thing, maybe that's a me problem. I kind of gave up at some points and I was like, okay, I don't know what your relationship is to this person, I'm just gonna keep going. There is a chapter where he like actually goes over everyone's like place in the family and stuff. I still didn't get it. I don't know, I would have to re-listen to it. Murder mystery part of the book wasn't that crazy, to be honest. I still didn't expect the reveal at the end, but it was still not as crazy as this book. Okay, so that's where I'm kind of gauging it. There is actually a, I don't know if it's a sequel or if it's just like a part 2 with like the character to this book. I don't know what it's called. I think Everyone on This Train Has Killed Someone or something like that. I'm not really sure. I actually do plan on reading that one. And apparently they're also making this book into a TV show on HBO, which I didn't actually know until literally 15 minutes ago when I was researching this book on Google. That's interesting. So I'm just gonna really quickly talk about this book. This is the 3rd book in the Harry Potter series, which as you can see, I did not read that much of. But I did read the 2nd book. I read Chamber of Secrets in January. I'm really only bringing this book up just because I did my Harry Potter series video of me reading the 1st book on this YouTube channel. If you haven't seen that, you can have a little watch of that video if you want. So I'm just kind of doing an update. I really have not gotten far through the third book, and I don't think I am going to. I think I'm gonna take a break. I'm just giving you guys a little update. I really don't have much to say. I kind of feel a little embarrassed that I'm not really finishing the series right now. I kind of want to take my time with it a little bit more. Maybe something that I read over the course of a couple years. For the second book, Chamber of Secrets, I actually really loved that one more than the first, just because there was like a lot more. We got into more of like the nitty grittiness of like everyone's relationships and what it's like to be at Hogwarts. I mean, I don't really have to go into too much detail. You guys know what Harry Potter is. Okay, and now is the moment we were all waiting for, which is my 5-star read. My first 5-star read of the year, and honestly, my first 5-star read in a very long time. Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. I'm in love. Small Things Like These is a historical fiction novel set in, I think the 1980s in a small Irish town. He slowly grasps the enormity of the local convent's heartless treatment of the unmarried mothers and their babies. One instance of that will soon be exposed as the scandal of the Magdalene laundries. Basically, some really shady stuff is going on in this small town's church. Unjust human labor, you know, that sort of thing. So the story kind of follows the main character Bill, and it kind of goes into his childhood. We get to learn more about him and just the way that he is as a person and the way that like this town works. It's a really short book. It's like 100 and some pages, so it's a really quick read. The way that nostalgia is written, like I actually cried. Like I shed a few tears while reading this. It's incredible. I don't know, there's just something about it makes it so good. It's just a good book and I really recommend it. You kind of get transported into like this world he lived in that he was experiencing. I don't know, it kind of really made me reflect on things, like the complicitness of people, how everyone in this town knew what was going on but no one did anything about it. I wish I had more to say about this book other than I think you should read it. Yeah, you know, just read it. Just have a little read of it. I think it'll be worth your time. Okay, and those are all the books that I read in the month of January. Okay, my battery and my SD card just both ran out at the exact same time. So I apologize if the background looks a little bit different, but let's get into everything that I'm currently reading. So I'm currently reading 2 books. One is an audiobook and one is an ebook. The book that I'm reading is 1984 by George Orwell. 53% of the way through the book. So it's Big Brother, right? They're living in the world where Big Brother is basically like government control entity. You basically can't think differently than them or they will make you disappear. So far, this book is really looking like it's gonna be a 5-star read for me. I don't know if that's too early to say, but I'm gonna say it. This book is crazy, incredible, all the words. I know I feel like I'm repeating myself, so definitely be on the lookout for my next recap video. I will be definitely going more into depth about this book. And the second book, which I have a little bit more to talk about because this book is even crazier for like so many other reasons. Educated, Tara Westover. Oh my god. Insane! This is the first memoir that I have ever read, and I'm so glad that this is the first. I think this is like an amazing introduction to the world of memoirs based on a true story of this woman, Tara. She recounts overcoming her survivalist Mormon family in order to go to college. She details her journey from her isolated life in the mountains of Idaho to completing a PhD program in history at Cambridge University. You know, you're aware that people like this exist, but actually hearing the story of someone who used to live like this, who was brought up in such an insane way, like such a different way, it puts things in so much perspective because this is also not that old. Like this happened in the late 90s, early 2000s, 18 in 2000 something. Like she just became an adult in the early 2000s, you know. I know I said this for 1984, but this also might be a 5-star read for me. I keep forgetting that this is like a memoir. I keep thinking this is like a work of fiction, like the insane things she goes through in this book. This book is very popular. I'm not saying I found like a hidden gem. This book has over, I think, 200,000 reviews on Amazon, like 4.7 stars on Amazon. One of like Barack Obama's like lists of like the books he reads. She starts college with basically no formal education. 17 or 18, she starts BYU, which is like the Mormon college everyone like makes fun of on TikTok. I'm just really intrigued to see how she deals with her family the older she gets. And that's everything I'm currently reading.